She was America's favorite sassy little sister, lighting up TV screens with a quick comeback and a smile that seemed untouchable. But away from the cameras, Danielle Spencer's life was marked by heartbreaking twists, medical battles, and a chilling connection between a childhood tragedy and her final days. This is the story of the girl the world knew as Dee, and the struggles they never saw coming.
Light and warm, reflecting the excitement of her early career. At just 11 years old, Danielle Spencer stepped into the role that would define her career, Dee Thomas on the hit sitcom What's Happening. The show, loosely inspired by the movie Cooley High, captured the everyday adventures of a tight-knit group of friends, but it was Danielle's razor-sharp wit that often stole the spotlight. With one raised eyebrow or a perfectly timed sarcastic line, she could turn a simple scene into the most talked-about moment of the episode. Viewers instantly connected with her sass, her charm, and her authenticity, making Dee one of the most beloved little sisters in TV history.
But just as her star was rising, tragedy struck. In 1977, during the show's second season, Danielle and her stepfather, Tim Pelt, were driving along the Pacific Coast Highway when disaster hit. The crash was devastating. Tim lost his life instantly, and Danielle was left fighting for hers. She spent 3 weeks in a coma, waking up to the reality of a broken arm, a shattered leg, a fractured pelvis, and the heartbreaking loss of the man who had introduced her to show business. What no one knew at the time was that this accident wouldn't just scar her childhood, it would return decades later in a way no one could have imagined. After What's Happening ended, Danielle reprised her role in the sequel series What's Happening Now during the mid-'80s, reminding fans that Dee still had that trademark bite. But Hollywood wasn't where she saw her future. She stepped away from acting, traveling to Africa with her mother before enrolling in veterinary school. Danielle traded scripts for stethoscopes, eventually earning her doctorate in veterinary medicine, a rare move for a child star, and proof she was more than the character that made her famous. But even as she built a life far from the spotlight, new challenges emerged. In 2004, Danielle was diagnosed with spinal stenosis, a painful condition that left her temporarily paralyzed. A decade later came another blow, breast cancer. Through every setback, she fought back with determination, refusing to let illness define her. Yet, behind the scenes, something far more haunting was still lurking in her past, a connection to that childhood car accident that would resurface in the most chilling way. In 2018, exactly 42 years to the day of that horrific Malibu crash, Danielle began suffering from relentless, crushing headaches. Doctors searched for answers, and what they found was chilling: a bleeding hematoma in her brain, traced directly back to the injuries from that childhood accident. Emergency surgery saved her life, but the eerie timing left friends, family, and fans stunned. It was as if the past had been waiting all those years to make its final move. On August 11th, 2025, Danielle Spencer's long fight came to an end. She was 60 years old. Her passing was announced by her former What's Happening co-star Haywood Nelson, who called her our brilliant, loving, positive, pragmatic warrior. Friends and fans mourned not just the loss of a beloved actress, but a woman who had faced more than her share of pain with dignity and strength. Though the exact cause wasn't publicly revealed, her decades of health battles had taken their toll, and the girl the world had once watched grow up on TV was gone far too soon.
Danielle Spencer's story didn't end with her passing. Her legacy is still alive. She became the first child star inducted into the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture, a permanent reminder of her place in television history. But beyond awards and roles, she was a healer, an advocate for animals, and an inspiration to anyone facing life's toughest battles. Her journey from child star to veterinarian showed the world that success comes in many forms, and her resilience proved that even in the face of unthinkable challenges, grace and strength can shine through.
Danielle Spencer's life was one of triumphs, tragedies, and unwavering strength. She reminded us that behind every familiar face is a story far deeper than what we see on screen. What's your favorite memory of Danielle as Dee on What's Happening? Share it in the comments, and let's celebrate the life of a woman who turned pain into purpose and left a mark that will never fade.